What's up, everyone? We are back with another episode of Break Space.
Hola.
We are talking about our favorite kind of hood.
Motherhood.
Hell yeah. The most chaotics of the hood, I feel.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
chaotic.
For sure. So, Kate, how many kids do you have?
Oh, I have 4 children.
Four kiddos.
Yeah.
And how's that?
I think it would be a lot worse if they were all much closer in age. I think it's very helpful that I have kind of like a decent age difference, I feel.
Yeah. What age are your kids?
10, 8, and a year old. He'll be a year in like 2 weeks.
And how's that? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
We got a lot going on. We got hormones, we got teeth, it's,
Teeth, hormones. Sounds all good to go together.
and then they want to randomly cut their hair off. So that's where we're at.
I think we should touch on the subject of how everybody glorifies motherhood and it makes it sound like the most perfect thing you can ever imagine and everything's so amazing and life is just so wonderful and great and how that's not always true for everybody.
How do you feel like you handle motherhood?
I have one child. She's about to be 11 and she truly is my biggest flex, but of course, when you're pregnant, you don't know. You just have no idea what you're going to get. And I was not supported during my pregnancy. And I mean, of course, I had like family and friends that were wonderful, but I feel like at home it was a different story and it was very difficult for me to navigate. I think my hormones just wrecked me and made me into somebody I wasn't. I was a very angry pregnant woman and I felt like everybody else, like a lot of my friends got pregnant too when I was pregnant, which I felt like was a blessing, but I felt like they were handling it with all the grace. And I felt like I wasn't ready. And I was 24 when I got pregnant, and I feel like I was 15. Like I just was so not ready. And I was in a dark place during my pregnancy, and I went through a pretty traumatic thing that I feel like I wouldn't wish on anybody. And I just remember feeling like, I don't know if I want this. And, everybody was like, oh, I can't wait to meet my baby. And like, I felt like that too. But I think for me, I wanted so badly to have that perfect like family dynamic. And it just wasn't happening for me during my pregnancy. And me and my significant other at the time broke up during my pregnancy and it was just a very hard time for me. I remember staring in the mirror and thinking to myself, please, 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 like, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm not ready to be a single mom. I don't want to go through this. I felt like my life was a Jerry Springer episode. And that is not how I envisioned it. That's not how anyone envisions it, right? They never think that, that's going to be them until it is. And then I felt like I had to fight with my own demons of, everybody else thinking that this was going to be the best moment of their life. And I was just like in survival mode the whole entire time.
Yeah.
And so I think that I still have a really hard time processing my time when I was pregnant because I just didn't feel that connection like everybody else was feeling. And I didn't get the happy go lucky, like, oh, let's go to our appointment and look at our baby. And she's as big as a pineapple or she's as big as you know what I mean? I didn't have any of that. And so it was just a very dark time for me. And I think a lot of women would never want to say that out loud. I mean, I certainly didn't. I know I was posting on Facebook, like, I can't wait to meet my baby. I'm so excited. And even though now she's the best thing that's ever happened to me. But at the time, I didn't feel that way. And even after she was born, I just was stuck in survival mode and not feeling connected. And I feel like all my friends were like, oh, I don't want to leave my baby. And like when my baby was a month old, I was like, Mom, can you take her overnight? I'm wanting to jump out a window. Like it was so hard. And all my friends were the opposite, So I felt like there was something deeply, deeply wrong with me. And I feel like postpartum wasn't really talked about then. And nobody really wanted to admit it. And it was like almost like taboo. And so while all my friends were like, oh my God, I love my baby so much, I was like, I love my baby too, but like, I need a break. And I feel like she was, when you have a baby, they constantly need you 24/7. And I went from being completely, nobody needing me to all of a sudden, like, this baby needs you 24/7 to survive. I didn't even know how to take care of myself, let alone a baby. So I just remember, like, even my baby shower, like coming home and being like, there's a million gifts all over the place. And at the time I lived in a garage. It was just this little tiny, I don't even know how many square feet, but it was as big as like my bedroom right now. And it was pretty much like a studio. And I just remember being like, how am I supposed to put all this stuff away? I don't even know. I don't even have room for a swing. I don't have room for a bassinet. I didn't have a nursery, so I already felt like I was failing because I didn't have a nursery for her. It was so dark for me. And I almost feel like I did not get out of survival mode until she was in school, honestly. So when people are like, "Are you going to have another one? Are you going to have another one?" I'm like, "No, I'm still trying to get out of my deep dark depression. Thank you."
Right.
It's just, I don't know. How old were you when you had your first baby?
I can relate to you in terms of like the depression during the pregnancy and everything because I was 18 years old when I had my son. I was still in high school. I literally found out first day of spring break, my senior year. It was like, I think a couple weeks after I officially turned 18. And that was hard for me, I feel like, because, like you said, there's a lack of support, but also being at that age, you have everybody you go to school with talking about you and looking at you some type of
Sure.
way. You know, I didn't get around to telling some of my family members yet. I wanted to tell them in person. They didn't show up the two times that I asked them, which, you know, that's on them. So they found out through other people. So there was like a lot of family criticism and judgment. And, you know, then I go to school and everybody's on my ass. And I was also class president at the time, and I remember my teacher calling me out in front of like the whole graduating class, and I just felt like I couldn't keep up. I felt like I didn't know how to take care of myself, let alone a baby, you know, and
Right.
you know, I just wanted the approval of everyone. So I'm just making choices based on what everybody else thinks I should be doing.
Right.
Do you
That's,
feel like that's kind of where you were at?
I mean, we talked about wanting a baby and then we tried that night. And then the next night, we were like, let's not do that again. And then it only took that one time because I was pregnant after that. And we had actually split. And I moved in with my friend at the beach and found out like 3 or 4 weeks later that I was expecting, and then moved back in, to the tumultuous situation. And so it was like kind of doomed from the start. So I was trying to paint a pretty picture. Who doesn't want the house with the white picket fence and, the mom and dad and get married? And that was another thing. Like I felt like a failure not being married before having a baby. And it was something we also talked about of, doing that. And of course it didn't happen. And we didn't get engaged until she was 2. And then we got married when she was 3.5. But I mean, I like begged for that ring. I was like, please, like, I do not want to have a baby out of wedlock. And, that was a whole nother can of worms. But it wasn't so much like trying to do what everybody was telling me. It was trying to protect the image of what society wants or what society expects is good, and I didn't come from a stable family. I mean, yes, my parents were married before they had me and my brother, but tumultuous relationship as well. So I grew up in a chaotic home. And so I just always wanted like peace and stability. And I chased after that for years. I mean, I'm still chasing it to this day. I feel like, but I think there's something to be said because, everybody always wants like this picture perfect. And I feel like they're so eager to have it and they end up choosing the wrong person just because they feel like either they're running out of time or they're, the clock is ticking, or what if they never find it? And so they're like, let's hurry up and get this going so I can, have the dream life. And if you pick that wrong person or vice versa, whatever it may be, I mean, you're looking at a long road ahead.
I wanted to ask you if you ever like pictured yourself having kids because I would tell people all the time, I don't want kids, I don't want to get married, like because I too came from a chaotic household growing up and my parents had divorced after they had me and my brother. So I didn't want that for my kids. I didn't want them to go through the same things, you know.
Right, right,
So
exactly.
did
I
you ever
mean,
picture yourself even having them?
I always would tell my mom I didn't want any kids when I was younger, but I mean, when I got like late teens, early 20s, I always was like, I just want one girl. That's it. And I remember getting pregnant and I didn't have morning sickness. My skin was great, my hair was great, and I was like, "Damn, I'm having a boy." And so I did not want to be upset if I was having a boy. I wanted to be just as thrilled. So I convinced myself I was having a boy and went and bought boy clothes and only picked out boy names. And when I found out I was having a girl, oh my goodness, it was like the best news I've ever received in my entire life. To this day, I'm like, oh my God, it was the best news. And um, I knew I was like, if I have a boy first, then I know I'm gonna want to try for a girl. But if I have a girl first, I'm one and done. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what I stayed. One and done, especially after going through everything that I went through.
Yeah. I have 4 kids. I have 2 boys, 2 girls, and I feel like the luckiest mom in the world because
Mhm.
I have the best of both worlds. I get to go to all the sports games and the dance classes, and, they all have different personalities. And that is the fun part of having a bunch of them, but they're my biggest hype team. Like, if I ever feel down and out, first of all, they will bring me down, but they'll bring me up too because they will tell you
That's so
about yourself.
true.
Okay. But they're a fun time. And sometimes I feel bad looking back at like, the things I can't change, the choices I made after I had them, it's like I know that I'm never going to be a perfect parent. But it's
No,
really hard knowing that like I did fail in some areas that I knew was part of the reason why I never wanted kids.
right.
I'm
I
like,
think everyone has that a little bit in the back of their head. I mean,
yeah.
did you struggle with the crunchy moms that were, I'm going to exclusively breastfeed and I'm going to feed them organic baby food and I'm going to make everything and I'm going to, use this, that, and the other. And I mean, I was definitely a laid back mom for sure. I did not breastfeed. I tried and I was unsuccessful. And a lot of people made me feel terrible about that, including a couple of nurses in the hospital. I had a mental breakdown in the hospital because she was in the NICU for like 4 or 5 days because she swallowed, I think it's called meconium. I
Okay.
forget what it's called. It's when they go to the bathroom inside of you. So she had to be on antibiotics for like 4 days. And so she was in the IC or NICU, sorry. And yeah, that was also traumatic. And having to go down there, I remember them like poking and prodding at me, trying to like get me to produce milk for 3 hours. She's screaming bloody murder. Um, and so I finally decided, like, okay, let's just feed them a bottle. And I remember a nurse being like, don't do that. Don't feed her a bottle. Make sure you, like, you can do this. You can do this. And I was like, I don't even, I just want my baby fed. That's it. Like, fuck, breast is best. You know what I mean? I just want my baby to stop screaming. I hadn't slept in 3 days, like, literally no sleep for 72 hours. Like, it was insane. And when you go, like, let's talk about that, the no sleep. I was permanently tired for 5 years. Permanently. Like, and that's another thing that scared me. And I remember constantly having pregnancy scares because I refused to get on birth control because that shit fucked up my body so bad. It made me like so depressed and crazy. It made me fat and crave sugar and everything else under the sun. And so I didn't want to be on that. And it was just like, oh, wait. I remember being like, if I get pregnant again, I'm going to jump off a bridge. Like, I can't fathom doing that again. I don't know why. I still to this day, when people are like, I have this many kids, I'm like, how did you do that? Like, I always look at them and like, you are a superhero. You are Wonder Woman because I could never, my mental health could never handle more than one child.
Yeah.
So I think anybody that has more than one kid, I'm like, you're killing it. You're doing a great job because I get overstimulated and all the other things so easily. Like still to this day, like thank God my child knows me so well. She like knows not to be mom, 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 mom. She doesn't do that to me. She never has because I was like, nope, nope, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. And she's not a loud child either. So I'm thankful for that. And being around other children is also hard for me because my kid is everything that I would want out of a child. And so when I'm around other kids, I struggle because other kids are not quiet. Other kids are mommy, 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 kids back talk. Other kids, are this, that, and the other. And I feel bad because I'm like, is this how every kid is? And I just like condition my child to be like to my needs, to what I need her to be. Like, a part of me feels like guilty about that even. So I don't know. I feel like if I had another child now, I definitely would be better. And I've thought about it just because, all the happy parts of being pregnant and, all of that was ripped away from me. And a part of me feels like, wow, I would love to get to experience that again just so I can know what it feels like to be in a loving, supportive, environment when that was going down. But it was too much of a risk for me. I didn't ever want to risk that again because I was in such a dark place. I still to this day, I'm like, I don't know how I got through that. But I think when we're currently in something, it's like we deal with it to the best of our ability. And I wish I could just like go back and be like, girl, you're going to be fine. You're going to have such a good kid. You're going to be like so thankful that, you went through whatever. And like you would go through it 1,000 times again just to be able to have her. But damn, I just was not okay for so long. I feel like you went through some turmoil too when you had your girls with your ex-husband. Why don't you what went on with that without, being too detailed, but emotion wise?
Well, I wouldn't just say it was with the girl's dad. I have three baby dads, which my kids are clothed, fed, they are well taken care of. I want to be able to say this all appropriately. I've always attracted older men. They're not like 10 years or anything older than me, but there is an age difference. And I feel like that played a part in our relationship for sure. We were just not on the same mental level. And, they have the careers and college and other issues, and I felt abandoned at times. I felt betrayed at times. There was a lot of things happening throughout the years with all three of my first children. But my oldest and my third were both preemies. My son came home 4 pounds, 8 ounces.
Wow.
Yeah. I was not prepared. He came a month early. I didn't even have my baby shower yet. My second, she was like the easiest pregnancy I had. I really didn't have any issues. When I was pregnant, each time I knew what I was having. And I always felt kind of like closer to my daughter spiritually wise. We are very similar. And I feel like I can understand her. She's got a lot going on. She's ADHD, OCD, all the things. And she's had a lot of behavioral issues, but she's a very emotional being. And she finds it very hard to communicate like I do. So I see a lot of myself in her. But during those relationships, I just felt very emotionally stressed. You were talking a lot about like not getting sleep and, the constant crying. And Oakland was colic. And that was one of the hardest things I ever had to deal with because that's nonstop crying all day, all night. I would put her in the swing for hours, the bouncer for hours. And it was just like nothing helped. Me and my mother-in-law at the time didn't have a great relationship, but she really was a godsend to me during those times, for sure, because I could not have done it by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Then I had to deal with multiple deployments, so I'm alone taking care of these kids for a lot of the time. It's just, I feel like my kids went through a lot of change very quickly throughout their early years, and I feel sad for them for that. A lot of moving, a lot of going back and forth. I moved out to Texas where I didn't have any friends or family, and my relationship was not the greatest. And I was just really depressed. I was having panic attacks all the time. And when you're under that kind of stress, especially pregnant, that carries through your DNA and you're passing that down to your child.
Mm-hmm.
And my fourth child that I just had was the most peaceful pregnancy I've ever had because it's the most peaceful relationship I've ever had. And I'm also 32, had him when I was 31, and I had my kids when I was 18, 21, and 23. And there's a lot of maturity to be done between those years. Your frontal lobe's not even developed until you're like 25, 26.
Exactly.
So I feel really bad, but I know I'm raising good kids. And I know as long as I can acknowledge my mistakes and my patterns of behavior and I work to change them, then my kids are going to be just fine.
Did you ever have a hard time with when you had to co-parent with your kids, like keeping yourself together and not, I don't want to say like bashing the other parent, but just like everyone's always like, oh, don't tell your daughter, what's going on, or don't cry in front of your daughter, don't express your feelings to your daughter. And when I was growing up, like my mom and I had a very, very close relationship. And I feel like not fully, obviously, but there was a lot of times where she leaned on me. And I feel like that's what made me and my mom close, you know? And so I've always been honest with my daughter. And of course, like there's things that I haven't been fully honest with because you can't, they don't understand. But I mean, when I was sad, I let her see me sad. When I was upset, I let her see me upset. I mean, I didn't hide it because I just think that's just not a reality to constantly be happy and go lucky all the time. And I didn't want her to think that that was normal because it's not. Everyone goes through things. But do you feel like you struggled at all with, keeping it together in front of your kids when things, between you and your ex went bad?
I've always tried to protect my kids. There's been times when I've had to hang up their phone calls. There's been times when I've had to do things to protect them. And, sometimes you get painted this picture as like you're bitter or like you're angry, you're spiteful. And it's like, I want all of my co-parents to thrive. I want them to be healthy and happy because my kids deserve to be and healthy parents.
Absolutely.
And if you're not okay, they're not okay. And if they're not okay, I'm not okay. There has to be awareness and there has to be accountability. And like, it's hard because I feel like you have to rebuild friendships. And when you're working with, sometimes not everyone's as mature as the other person. And so you have to kind of deal with that. I will say that like doing things the legal way is probably the best way. You don't want to be taken advantage of. And sometimes you give people the benefit of the doubt and multiple chances. And that's where boundaries come in. And I wanted my kid to have their dad. And so I've allowed people to talk me out of doing certain things, making certain decisions. And it's not up until like the past year or so when I've had to put my foot down and be like, no, we're not doing this anymore. But it also, I think it's built some respect. And I want my co-parents to know that I'm there for them. Like I had a conversation with one this past weekend and I genuinely just want him to heal, honestly. But
Yeah, I fully understand that. I think that with me and my co-parent, I'm a very emotional person and I speak what's my heart's on my wrist or whatever that phrase is. And so he's not though. He can walk away or go silent or he doesn't fly off the handle or get upset or start crying or anything like that. He's more, in tune with just keeping chill, and I'm not. So I feel like with us, it's easier for him, I think, to be more cool, calm, and collected when things were awry. And I feel like with me, I'm over here like freaking out. You know what I mean? It was always, one bomb after another, after another, after another. I mean, when we divorced, it was just the first 2 years were literally a complete nightmare. I would not wish it on my worst enemy. I think that until you go through it, you don't understand. Your emotions are completely dysregulated when you separate from your co-parent and you're now doing everything on your own and you have a child to take care of, sometimes multiple children, and both of you are being toxic and both of you are being unhealthy. I mean, it's just a actual nightmare. I think people are so quick to judge and, throw their own opinions on, oh, well, you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't say this. And, well, don't do this and don't do that. It is so fucking hard to keep your cool and, not write that crazy text message and not do this and not do that. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I sent screenshots to my lawyer, like, I said this, I just want to let you know. And he would be like, Brittany, you're fucking yourself. Stop. And I'm like, I know, I just wanted to send it to you so you knew that I was being like insane. But you feel insane. You feel so mentally ill when you're going through that. I think that even during my relationship, when Serena was growing up, my daughter was growing up, she saw so many back and forth. I moved out, moved back in, moved out, moved back in. Her and myself and him. I mean, it was just so bad. And it wasn't just me. It was obviously both of us just constantly being a wreck. I think that you're just trying to survive. You're going to say things that, later on you're like, why do I suck this bad? You're so hard on yourself. And then, it's hard to give yourself grace. It's hard to, breathe through it. It's hard to walk away and go and meditate and then come back when you're, not responding right there in the moment. Like that shit is not taught to you. It's not. It's something that you have to like genuinely hate about yourself and want to change. And not just for you, but for your kid. And when you are put into a diabolical situation where you just want to fly off the handle because it's gotten so toxic and tumultuous that you don't even know who you are anymore. You just lose yourself. And I think that I lost myself for 11 years in the relationship, and then at least another year and a half, maybe even two after. I feel like I finally, in the last 2 years, have gotten, more hold of like controlling my emotions, not freaking out, not losing my shit. Especially, I mean, I'm a fire sign, so girl, I have a temper, and I know that, and I can say that now, and nobody can tell me like you have. I know I have a temper. You're right. Correct. But also, I'm just a passionate person, Like, shit. Serena, my daughter, she definitely, I think, has helped me so much because she'll check me. She'll be like, Mom, you're being kind of crazy. And I'm like, shit, my daughter's, she's about to be 11 next month, but I'm just like, the fact that my daughter's telling me to calm down, I'm like, damn, okay, let me chill out. I feel like she's what I needed to be the best version of myself. So I think that God gives you your children to as like either a mirror or like a helping hand, and just being the better version of yourself or the best version of yourself, even if they're hard or if they're easy or whatever in between. I feel like it's because of a reason for sure.
I agree. I definitely had my explosive moments, especially like in the earlier parts. Like I remember
Moods
there
are
was
raging.
yes, I remember there was a time when I don't remember, it was my daughter. I know she like really pissed me off. And like neurodivergent type disorders like autism and ADHD and things like that. So, you have demand avoidance and you have all these things. And when we're trying to make it out of survival mode, we want to be in control of everything. And the one thing you cannot control is your child's emotions and their behaviors. You can teach them all the things, and if they don't do it, they don't do it. And so
Right.
what I've had to do is just figure out what works best for each child, because each child is not the same and they're not going to receive everything the same. But my girl just knows how to push my buttons. And there was a day where like I took my sunglasses off and I like threw them against the wall. I had to go outside, and she's taught me that I need to model behavior. And I've done behavioral technician stuff, so I've worked a lot one-on-ones with autism and ADHD and all the things in the schools, and I've learned a lot of prevention ways and intervention ways to redirect behavior or to obtain a desired outcome that you want through certain changes. And like it's put a spin on like gentle parenting.
Right.
If you wouldn't treat someone with a disability like that, so why would you treat a normal child that way?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like I've spanked her before, and that girl will laugh in your face, so that don't work. So we resorted to other things. And her therapist, she's been in therapy since she was like 5 or 6 years old, so that's really helped. But I also agree when you said, some are here to teach you something and some are here to be your support, because my Scorpio kids are the most loving, supportive little kids. I have one boy, one girl, and they're just the most kind. Crazy, but kind.
Crazy but kind. I love Scorpios. Sue me. I know they're supposed to be like the worst zodiac sign, and I'm like, no, bro, it's Virgos. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I think it just depends on what you are, what your chart says.
Yeah, 100%.
Outside of like the depression stuff, did you have like an easy birth? Like, was there?
I slept through a lot of it because I was in labor for like 36 hours before I ever even went to the hospital. And when I went to the hospital, they're like, oh, you're only 2 centimeters dilated. So they gave me a bunch of drugs. I passed out for 3 hours. And when I woke up, it was time to get an epidural, and then fell asleep for another 3 hours, woke up, and it was time to push. I pushed for 30 minutes and she was out. At 30 minutes, that whole hospital heard me. Let's just say that. I remember the nurse being like, stop cussing. And I was like, bro, somebody get this girl out my face. Yeah, but they turned it off when it was time to push. So I felt everything. I felt them stitching me up. I felt her head. I felt her shoulders. And I just was screaming bloody murder the whole time. It was very traumatic, but in the same sense, I didn't care what I remember being like, I would rather chop off my arm than to be pregnant for one more day. So when I went in there, I was not scared at all. I said, get this baby out. I don't care what y'all got to do. I'm ready to have this baby. So, but I was not expecting her to go to the NICU. And it was told that typically when you have like a really stressful pregnancy and you're going through a lot is typically when the baby will go to the bathroom inside you. And then that's always an issue. And then if they swallow it, then that's why they have to go to the NICU. And the nurse, I think it was the nurse or the doctor or whatever, told us that. And so I remember him having like a hard time hearing that because, that was the reason why my pregnancy was so hard. So I think that it was, I want to say it was kind of easy only because I slept through most of my labor. But the pushing part was definitely, even though it was 30 minutes, it felt like 3 hours. And those people that are like, oh, I pushed for 3 hours, ain't no way, bro. Ain't no way. There's no way. I broke every single not nerve, like what is it called in your face, like when you push so hard and you pop blood vessels, like I popped
Yeah.
every blood vessel in my face. My face was like red veins everywhere in my face. I looked insane. I remember because I'm psychotic, I brought my whole entire makeup bag with me, and the day after I gave birth I did a full beat in the hospital because I just don't feel myself. If you see me out without makeup, I'm not having a good day. I'm not having a good day. So I put on a full beat, and the nurse was like, "Oh my God, you don't even look like the same person." And I was like, "And amen, because girl, what? I looked crazy as hell." But yeah, I don't know. I think the hardest part, honestly, in the hospital was them like poking and prodding at me to try to, get my milk flowing. And that was just a really, really hard, I felt like a failure. And I remember, he ended up leaving to go get me like a nursing bra and like a pump and all this other stuff. And he came back right away and gave it all to me. And I was just like, this is a nightmare. Like, this isn't working for me. Remember, I would pump for like an hour and get like literally nothing, like an ounce if I was lucky. It was a nightmare. And, amen for formula, because I don't know what people did back in the day without formula, how they fed their baby if they couldn't produce milk. Like, I don't know how they did it.
I
It's
think they were
crazy.
also eating differently back then too, so it probably helped to produce milk a lot easier. Because I
Yeah.
didn't produce milk well either. Honestly, my milk supply increased after each child that I had. So like with
Oh,
milk,
really?
I could only breastfeed for like 4 weeks the first time, and then it was 8 weeks, then 12 weeks. So,
Oh, that's
but
great.
yeah. But I did want to talk about, no one really talks about how scary pregnancy is or birth.
Mm.
Like, that is really risky. First of all, a lot of women die, and then we go through a lot of mental health changes, a lot of hormonal changes. You got prenatal depression, postpartum depression, but then you also have like preeclampsia. With
Mm.
Oakland, I had placenta previa, and I almost lost my life. And I honestly, it probably
Oh my
scared everybody
God.
around me more so than it did me, but it was a lot. And I think every pregnancy I've had has been high risk. The last one really
Wow.
on because he was going to be a VBAC because Oakland was a C-section baby. And so he came out naturally after that. But yeah, like I hemorrhaged out. I needed a transfusion. They wanted to keep me in the hospital
Oh my
for
God.
until the rest of my pregnancy. And yeah, I was not having that.
Oh my God. I had no idea. That is insane. No,
Well,
I
because
did
with
not.
her, I had a
No.
low-lying placenta, and so usually they move. And so when I got pregnant with Oakland, they said the same thing, and they were like, we'll monitor it. But being that we were living on a military base, things are very different when you're seeing military physicians. And honestly, I wasn't seen as often as I would, in civilian world. I didn't really take it seriously because I thought it was going to move like Harper's did. And I fucked around and found out, to be honest with you. And I don't even want to give too much details, but when I say there was blood everywhere, like I filled the entire toilet bowl up with blood.
Oh my God, Kate.
And it didn't stop there. That's how bad it was. On the stretcher, I soaked the stretcher and then I hemorrhaged again at the hospital. I was
That is
shaking. I was like,
absolutely terrifying.
yeah, but like, women are doing all the hard work over here. No offense to the men, but like, we are superior, first of all. Let's throw that out there.
Facts. No,
And for us who've
100%.
given birth multiple times, I'm a superhero, bro.
You really are, though. You really are. I was terrified to give birth for sure, but like last month that I was pregnant, I was in such a discomfort that I was like, I literally don't care if they have to like take a knife and cut me open right here and me feel everything. Just get it out. I can't do it. I cannot go one more day. I mean, it was. My inner thighs were throbbing. I could not get up off the couch without like somebody helping me. I couldn't sleep. My ankles were swollen. I was sick for most of my pregnancy. I was working 17-hour days because, once we split during my pregnancy, had to, all of a sudden, all the bills were on me. So I worked at the salon and then I went to Buffalo Wild Wings and worked. Buffalo Wild Wings, like, was actually, like, saved me. I feel like with my mental health, the girls there became like family to me and we were all like so close at one time. And that's how I like had my, I don't know, social whatever for a long time. I did go back to Buffalo Wild Wings after I gave birth for a little bit and just to, help with the bills and stuff, but it was a disaster. I went to the hospital one time because I kept sneezing and coughing. And every single time I did, I thought like amniotic fluid was leaking. And I remember being like, I was working at Buffalo Wild Wings and I was like, I have to go to the hospital because I think I'm leaking amniotic fluid. It wasn't. It was just pee. It was just pee. But I don't freaking know. You know what I mean? You're like so scared. You're like, holy shit. Like so many things can go wrong, like you said. I mean, I don't know. It was definitely a hard time. You're right. There's not enough people that talk about it. And I feel like it's because it's glorified, having a baby is like, oh, it's the best thing in the entire world. And it's the most precious, biggest blessing. And it's like, even though, yes, all those things are true, but it's also traumatic. And like the hormones is what killed me. Like, yes, physically, I had a pretty good pregnancy. Like I said, my hair grew really long. It was shiny. People constantly asked me if I was wearing extensions. My skin was glowy. Like I think I gained like 35 pounds or something. So it wasn't like terrible. But I'm telling you what, like my mental health was unwell. And it stayed that way for a long time afterwards. It just constantly in survival mode. I think everybody after having a baby is in survival mode. I don't think anybody is loving every single second of motherhood, even the ones that have a horrible time trying to get pregnant. I think anybody that brings home a newborn, they're like, holy shit. Who left me alone with this baby? How am I supposed to take care of this baby? What do you mean no one's going to come help me? I mean, being in the hospital for 4 or 5 days, I remember like 100% relying on the nurses to help me. I felt like a child. Like they were like, okay, here's your baby, do this, do that. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. What do you mean take care of this baby? Like my maternal instincts only kicked in so much, but I still was just like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. It's a lot, man. It is a lot. And
And back in the day, you had your mom's home, your grandmother's home, like all the women stayed home. You had maids and help and like we just don't have a village like that anymore.
mm-mm,
Some
mm-mm.
of us don't even have our parents. So I mean, we're all
I
just doing our best.
shout out to my mom and my grandmother and RIP to my grandmother, but I'm telling you one thing, they helped me so much with her and I could not have done it without them because I'm a workaholic. I like to work and I like to have money and I like to be secure in that and not have to ever rely on anybody for financial. My mom helped me so much. And as a hairstylist, I have women come sit in my chair and they're like, oh yeah, no, I don't have any family here. I'm all by myself. And I just immediately want to start crying for them because I know that shit's hard as fuck. You cannot convince me otherwise. I have so many people be like, the newborn is my favorite stage. And I'm like, that literally gave me trauma. Like hearing her scream and cry all the time. Whenever she was awake, she was screaming. Like my mom would be like, she doesn't have colic. And I'm like, are you sure? Because this little baby is angry. But I remember one time I put her down in the swing and she was like screaming so much. And I picked her up and I didn't shake her, but I went to go shake her. And I was like, oh my God, this is how people kill their babies. They shake them like because they lose their fucking mind because their baby's screaming so much. I had to put her down in the swing and I buckled her in and she was still screaming and I had to walk outside. I walked outside for like 5 minutes and let her scream. I was like, she's safe, everything's fine. I'm going to not be fine. I need to go breathe and I need to like breathe in fresh air because I genuinely like blacked out for a second. It's scary as shit. Nobody talks about it. And nobody talks about it because nobody wants to feel like a piece of shit. Nobody wants to sound like a piece of shit. And, I remember like a couple of my friends being like, oh, I've never spent the night away from my baby. And I'm like, that's insane. I remember being like, you're crazy as fuck. Or I remember thinking you're crazy as fuck, but also like I remember being envious of them because I'm like, I wish I had your patience. I wish I had your, like desire to not want to take breaks from your baby. Or a lot of moms, I feel like, had the opposite of what I had, where they were petrified to leave their babies. They didn't want to send their babies to daycare. They didn't want to, ever be away from their babies. They had this like super strong attachment. And I did not have that. I felt like I was constantly trying to fix my relationship that was so broken all the time, and I just couldn't focus on her. And I think that it took me, I don't even know if I fully will ever truly wholeheartedly 100% forgive myself for not being the mom that I wanted to be, but I genuinely could not at the time. I was just trying to get through the days. I mean, in every aspect. There was days where I was like, maybe it would just be easier if I left and just like never came back. Like maybe it would be better if she didn't even have me, because I'm just such a fucking basket case. And I didn't ever want to put another kid through that, like it being a disaster. And everyone says, oh, every pregnancy is different, but I was not about to risk it. I could not risk being my mental health like that again, because it was just so hard for me. I still have yet to talk to somebody that I feel like had that hard of a time with a baby than me mentally. So I don't know. Do you think it got easier, like the more kids you had, or do you feel like it got harder?
I feel like it got easier the older I got and the more I worked on my mental and emotional well-being. When I can't remember most of my older threes, toddler years, because I felt like I was in constant fight or flight mode. And so I felt detached in a sense that wasn't like I didn't want to leave my kids, because I was very protective with them. I'm very protective on who they stay with and things like that. But I also needed breaks, and I was okay leaving with them with my mom or not their mom. And I just remember like not feeling like I was there. I was present, but mentally I was not there. I felt on autopilot, like I was a zombie. When I moved back home, my mom was like, "You look gray and your clothes are hanging off your body." And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it was like you already go through the process of having to build your self confidence after you have kids. And then, so when you're dealing with all the other bullshit, because I will tell you what, someone asked me this the other day. They said, is it easier this time around? And I said, yeah. And they said, is it because you have a more hands on co parent this time? And I said, absolutely, 100%. When you have a supportive partner, it makes 1,000% difference. Someone who's there to take care of you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, because I don't regret my children, but if I would have known better, I would have chosen different.
I have a really hard time letting go of people. I think anybody that's known me for, the past 15 years, 20 years, they know that whatever I've ever let go of has claw marks in it. And I think it was the chaos, man. You're just addicted to the fucking chaos. And I'm still learning to not be attracted to chaos. It is a learning point for sure. But I definitely, what?
I think our like attachment to the chaos is stronger because we have a fear of failure. So we like hang on tight, trying to see if it'll work. It'll work. What if I try this? What if I try that? Until finally we're like, fuck it. Nothing I'm doing is working.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I always went back. I always went back because I was so desperate to have the American dream, right? You get married, you have the big beautiful wedding, you have the big beautiful house and the family pictures, and you have the family come over and for holidays and stuff. Like I wanted that so bad, because growing up, my mom was a correctional officer, so she was really never home on the holidays past the age of like 11, which I always struggled with immensely. And I wanted that. If I couldn't have it as a child, I wanted to create it myself as an adult, and I kept failing. I mean, I can't say that, everything was bad, because obviously, there were also good times, but I held on to them so fucking tight. Like, I mean, I would see glimmers, I mean, every single time we get back together, things would just be so beautiful and perfect and everything I could ever imagine or ever hope for. And then it just would always fall back. Every single time I felt back, it was like a vicious cycle that, again, I would not wish on anybody, because throwing a kid in the mix too, like my daughter, she really is special. And I know everyone feels that way about their child, as they should, but I feel like my daughter, she was so easy on me. Like baby Sage is a different, that's a different monster. But when she got older, like 2 and on, she was just such a good toddler and baby. She just was good. She never threw a tantrum. And people think that I am a liar when I say that. She threw a tantrum one time in Target and threw herself on the floor. And I said, "Are you done?" And she said, "Yeah." And she was over it. Other than that one time, I think she was 4 when that happened. She's never thrown a tantrum. She's never screamed and cried in the stores. I almost feel like it's God being like, okay, I know that your relationship was the hardest thing you've ever dealt with in your life. So let me give you like a kid that, gives you all the love that you gave away, never got back.
Mm.
So, but like, yeah, shit is so hard, man. I mean, still to this day, she's going to be 11 and like things are so much better now, like, but I mean, there's no communication really or anything between me and her dad. And that is honestly, I'm fine with it. As long as there's not turmoil, I'm fine with it. I've noticed over the last year, like Serena's become like so much happier and, she loves going to her dad's house now and she loves being with me. And like, I feel like there's like such a nice, healthy balance now. But damn, it took years to get there. And anybody that is listening, like if things are, terrible and sour, like it will get better. It really will. Because I mean, there are days where I'm like, how long is this shit gonna go on? How long is this gonna last? You have to stop. You have to be the one to stop engaging. And once you stop that, things will really chill out.
I agree with that. But also, I think one thing people should also remember, especially people with multiple kids, like I said before, they all receive love differently. But you are also a first time parent too. We're all living life for the first time.
Exactly.
Just give yourself grace. I am firm on always apologizing to my kids. We're not all perfect. I've never met a perfect parent in my life, okay? But you're gonna fuck up. And you could do
Right.
something out of pure intent, and your kid's probably gonna be like, "Fuck you, mom. Don't tell me what to do." Because you're like, "All right, well, you're gonna fuck around and find out for yourself." And that's what it's gotta be sometimes, okay?
Right. Right. Holy shit. I know. I feel like it is so important to give yourself grace because I can't tell you the amount of times where I've sat and looked at myself in the mirror but just been so mean to myself. Like, you're such a piece of shit. Why are you like this type of thing? But then I say this probably every single day, if not multiple times a day, but like fall down 7, stand up 8. Like, you have to. You don't have a choice,
Mm-mm.
There's people counting on you. And the most important ones, your kids, those are the ones that matter most. You're literally raising human beings that are going to be out in the world, and hope and pray that you're raising good ones that are going to do the right thing. And they're not always going to do the right thing, but try to make it anyway. Try to make it work anyways. Just keep trying. Don't give up. I mean, there's going to be good days and bad days always, but shoo.
Look, I'll tell you what, you don't want to know what my kids were doing over the weekend. They thought it was a good idea to take my son's electric bike, tie a wagon up to it, put the rest of the kids in the wagon, go around the cul-de-sac, and
Oh, Lord.
fling
Lord.
them.
Did they fall?
Yeah, my daughter got flung into the side of a car.
Jesus, Lord. Have mercy. You're like, we're here now. What are you doing? I can just.
Basically. And, then I have all the neighborhood kids like at my door now. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. Okay. I said, first of all, you 3, I'm counting mine out. Okay. The rest
Oh my
of y'all
God.
leave mine. But you 3, I better not. I swear to you. Don't let me catch you back in that wagon.
That's
Actually,
hilarious.
my husband went out there and was like, and if I find out, I'm telling your dad. I'm talking to the neighbor kid. And they were like, no.
My God. See, my mom was never like, let me tell your dad. I feel like my dad was so chill. He was like always in the backyard, like smoking a blunt, like chilling, like, you know what I mean? Like, my mom was the one that I fucking feared because she was like, I'm taking away everything. Like, she would take away my computer, my AIM, like, I wasn't allowed to leave and going out with my friends. And that was just like, holy shit. It was treacherous. So I was scared of my mom, not my dad. That's
No,
funny.
my mom was putting belt to ass growing up, okay? My mom is a scary, badass bitch, I'll tell you. I love my mom. She's one of the only people in my life that I've ever been able to count on. She's always been there. She ain't never been perfect, and she's always been a little spicy. But, we're growing together. We're growing together.
Yeah. Oh no, me and my mom have gone
Ice
through
machine?
many, many growing pains. What?
Your ice machine sounded like gunshots outside.
It does scare me sometimes in the middle of the night, I'm not gonna lie.
I was like, what the fuck is that?
Oh my God. My mom never like, she never did the belt with me. Like, my brother, on the other hand, because he's bad as fuck, he still is. But my mom, one time she threw a boot at me and I ran away and she had to call the cops. I was at the school playground, 2 or 3 blocks away. She would chase me sometimes, but I was faster. Catch me if you can, bitch. You're not going to. No, me and my mom, we had some rough times, but same. My mom's always been there for me. Middle school was the worst, and my mom, she would come pick me up. Like, I would text her and be like, I'm gonna get into a fight, so come pick me up at 2 o'clock. She'd be like, don't you dare. Well, too late, Mary. It's already happened. I already knocked this bitch in her mouth. So just come pick me up. Let's just go. Let's go home. Come on. So anyways, she would take me straight home, or sometimes we would go shopping or out to dinner or lunch.
I came home from school one day. My go-to drink in high school was Bacardi Dragonberry, okay? And we would get a big ass bottle. I think I had it hidden in my closet in my soccer bag or something. And I come home from school and she's got it on the counter and she's got a whole cup of it. And I just walked in the house and I looked at her and laughed and I was like, why are you drinking my alcohol? Mind you, I'm like probably 16, 17. She's like, bitch, what are you talking about? Like,
Oh my God.
I was just so bold. Like, I would look at her like, what are you doing?
No, oh my God. I didn't start drinking. Oh God. I don't know how old I was. It was definitely either my junior year or senior year, but I never like got crazy in high school ever. I was petrified. I have like a fear of vomit. So like I did not want to throw up, and everybody would talk about throwing up when they drank. And I was like, fuck that. That's not going to be me. I didn't start drinking until I was like 19, I think. 19-ish, I feel like. But no, not in high school. I did go to parties and stuff sometimes, but a lot of the times I weren't invited to those parties. I was not invited. So
I think the relationship you have with your parents is super important. I don't like when parents don't take accountability for the way that they make their children feel because you give off very much like dismissal, and I can't stand that. Like,
mhm.
emotionally negligent. I don't have the best relationship with my dad. And, sometimes I just wish that you could just apologize or like,
Right.
and it's just when you have a void in your life in that way, it influences the relationships that you attract and the parents that you become. Because now we're modeling behaviors that our parents used to have. And well, I don't have a great relationship and that's influencing the way I react to everything. So I'm not showing up as my best self. And it's just, you're trying to be the best parent and the adult relationship changes. And it's just so hard for parents or us, as new parents to navigate all of those changes at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like, because you have a good relationship with your dad, but you're sort of distant, right? Or is it just like a physical distance?
My dad lives in Arizona, so I don't see him very often, and we do talk on the phone, but I am closer to my mom just because, she's been here. Like she's in this, you know what I mean? I love my dad, but my mom and my dad are so vastly different. But I will say that my dad was somebody that my mom and my dad would get into a fight and my dad would just go up in the backyard and I would just go back there and be like, hey dad, and hey honey, every single time, always welcomed me. And, my mom didn't always have that type of patience, but also she was dealing with a fuck ton of shit, you know what I mean? So like, I definitely can say that I see the way that my mom parented, like I can see it in myself a lot of the time. My mom, again, she was always there for me. She was never not there for me. But no one's a perfect parent, obviously. And growing up, I think that I used to feel like everyone's mom was so nice. Like everyone's mom was like, oh my gosh, hi honey, I missed you so much. Like, come here, baby. Like all of my friends' moms were like that. And my mom was like, get in the car, let's go. You know what I mean? Like I didn't like, you know what I mean? Like, when my mom would like say honey or call me honey, I would be like, oh my God, my mom's in a good mood today. That's awesome. Like she's gonna be like fine. But like, I don't know. I think also in survival mode, my mom for sure. My mom was in survival mode for many, many years and, just doing the best she can. I'm gonna say she did a good job because we're still best friends and that is like my road dog. I fucking love my mom. I don't know what I would do without her. I think about it all the time. I get scared because I'm like, I need you to stop getting older because I need you for the rest of my life. Thank you.
Love that you described how your mom wasn't a perfect parent, right? But you guys have grown together to develop a relationship in your adulthood that's sustainable and that's you can meet each other where you're at. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If your kids do not talk to you when they become adults, you are the problem. And I will stand firmly on that till the day that I die. Because it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter if you showed up in your best way or not. If you have a good relationship with your kids, they will show up for you.
Yeah, I believe that. I think that's really hard. When I was going to therapy, I remember me and my mom were struggling really bad. This was back in like 2020. And my mom is very, very blunt. She doesn't sugarcoat anything. She does not give a fuck about your feelings. She's going to say what she wants to say. And she can be very brash, but we struggled a lot. And I would go to my therapist and be like, my mom is just off her rocker. She said A, B, C, D, F, G. And I'm tired of it. Like I told her she can't say that and she can't do that. And my therapist said, stop trying to change her. You're not going to change her. She is who she is. You can either A, create a boundary and not speak to her, or if she says something that you don't agree with, get up and walk out. Don't say a word. Don't argue with her. Don't tell her she's wrong. Don't try to change it. Get up and walk out. Or you can just accept her and just like let her be who she wants to be. Let her speak her mind. Let her say what she wants to say. And don't engage if you don't agree with it. Or just say, I don't agree, and then move on. Not everything needs to be an argument. And I said, okay. So after that, I let my mom just, whatever Mary says, okay. And our relationship completely changed after that. I mean, it almost felt like instant. Like it changed. And it's been really good ever since. I just let my mom just be talking. And I'm like, all right. I have to remind my mom a lot. Mom, I'm 36. I say that to her probably every day. She's like, I don't give a shit. You're my daughter. I'm your mother. I'm your mother. I hear that I'm like, you're right, but I'm still going to do me. I'm still going to do what I'm going to do. I'm still going to do what I'm going to do.
My mom was very similar, like the way your mom is, has an opinion, always has a fucking opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But my mom has always let me be me. She knows me like the back of her hand. Look, I'm not going to say we never argued or anything because we butt heads plenty. My mom's a Virgo and I'm an Aries, so we're both very stubborn and we like our things a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And, as I've become a mother and I've gotten older, I've gotten to understand why she was the way she was when I was younger. Like, there was a time where I put my head on her shoulder and she, like, shook me off and was like, get off. And I think about that all the time. But now I realize, wow, you were an unmedicated bitch. You have ADHD, anxiety, and all the other things. And that is why. But then there are things that my dad has done. Like, mind you, remember, I had my son when I was 18. His father and I split when it was 20. And when I separated from him, my dad's side of the family disowned me. I wasn't invited to any holiday or family events. They didn't talk to me, but my son's father is allowed to go. And they still spend Christmas and everything together. And I haven't talked to my dad in 4 years. I feel like I've always wanted acceptance and approval from my dad, and I've always wanted to feel like I belong. So I've made certain decisions to feel like, maybe if I make the right one, this will be it. And I've spent half my life trying to please everybody else and live up to these uncommunicated expectations from my family. And I'm just fucking over it. And so I just really had to learn that, like, whatever life they pictured for me was their dream, not mine. All these lessons were meant for me. And I'm in a good place. You know what I mean?
Right.
I have a good life. I might have been a rebellious child, but I've always made decent decisions and I've always been a good human. So I call that a win.
But I almost feel like I might get a little bit of backlash for this. And it's 100% not being judgmental. It's me just going based off of my own experiences. I think that kids that have like one fucked up parent end up being just more, how do I say this?
Empathetic, compassionate.
Like just more like realistic in life. I feel like the kids that grew up with two loving, wonderful, amazing, awesome parents, they almost live in like a little dreamland or something. And I'm not talking about everybody. I'm just saying my experience with people. I've noticed that it gives you a little bit of edge when you have like a little bit of a fucked up childhood. I've just noticed it throughout life. I think that people that have, two loving, amazing parents, like, damn, you are so lucky.
Bless.
But they're more so like, look, everything's so pretty and lovely and amazing and wonderful, and they don't have as much like,
we're naive.
yeah, that's a good word. But I mean, like, how lucky are you? Like, how like blessed, you know what I mean? Like, right, to not understand exactly, like, just, and again, that's not everybody. I always say, like, Whenever somebody's life looks really, really perfect, I promise you there's something in their life that is fucked up. And you just don't know about it. That's why it's so important to just try to be kind to everybody because everyone's going through some shit. But yeah, having growing up, I think I had a good childhood, but there was definitely it was definitely chaotic for sure, 100%. Me and my brother did not get along at all, at all. I was like,
Ugh.
I want to be the only child. And I hated sharing my mom. I hated it. He would be like, I get to sit next to mom. And I'm like, fuck you. I'm sitting next to mom. Like, we would fight. I'd punch him in the face. He punched me in the nose one time. He almost suffocated me one time under a blanket. I could not breathe, and his fat ass wouldn't get off of me. Bro. One time,
Girl, I took a cereal box to my brother's head one morning. Fruit Loops went flying everywhere. I
oh
chucked the whole Hawaiian punch over across the kitchen one day because you got me fucked up.
my God. Jesus Christ. I know. My brother, one time, he was like, I don't remember what he was doing. We were in the car and my mom went into the store and I don't know. My eyes were closed because I was trying to like break away from whatever. I think my brother had me in like a headlock or something. And I remember just trying to like bite to get him off of me. And I bit as hard as I could. I ended up biting his fucking lip. How the fuck did I do that? How did I even? And he was like, what the fuck? Oh my gosh, it was a disaster. My mom was like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? I can't even leave you in the fucking car for more than 5 minutes because you guys are so fucking da da da. And she like screamed at us the whole way home. It was like so traumatic. And I was like, life would just be so much easier. What?
She used to make she used to make me and Tyler stand in the corner until we hugged it out. And so Tyler would be like,
No.
come here. And I'd have to stand there like, I'll stay in here all fucking day.
Before I hug your ass.
I was the only girl. And so I felt like I was provoked all the time. You know, boys like to fuck
Oh
with you.
God, yeah, for sure.
God. And so my mom would lock us outside. Literally, we came in one day, his hair is going this way, my hair is going that way. He's crying, I'm laughing. It was a shit show.
Dude, one time my brother kept like coming into my room and me and my friend were in there and I would always keep my door shut. But our house was old as fuck. So like none of our doors had locks on it or anything. And my brother just kept raging in my room and I slammed my door and I slammed his fingers in my door. Bro, my dad came into, of course, his fingers are like bleeding. He's screaming. I just knew right then and there I was dead. I knew that I was going to die. Like, I was like, my parents are going to literally murder me. And my dad yoked me up out of my room and like busted my ass. He took my friend home. It was a disaster. I hated my brother that day. I was like, yo, seriously, don't talk to me. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to actually kill you. Like, do not come near me.
You know,
I
now
can't
that we're
stand you.
talking about this, though, I feel like it's normal, right, for siblings to fight. That's a normal thing.
Right.
You're learning different social emotional things. But one thing I did not have, because I have 6 siblings in total, but I only have 2 blood siblings. Rest are step, which is already a hard enough dynamic to try to, establish.
Right.
One thing I don't feel like I got enough of in my childhood was unity from the parents. Like, how can we, in a healthy way, come back from all this? I felt like it was a lot of these siblings against these siblings, a lot of competition, or it was like, you're always the problem. And it was just, here's the thing. And I've said this before, I don't have sisters. I've always wanted sisters. God gave me 2 stepsisters. I have 3. I only talk to 1. And it's really sad to me that I don't have a relationship with them. And I'm not saying I want that because I don't think we're aligned, but it could have been so different, especially if our parents would have just promoted healthier relationships with all of us. There was a time when like we're doing field day races in the backyard and there was 4 of us and my sister kept getting mad because she kept losing. So she got in my face and started yelling at me. And I was like, bro, get out of my face. And she put her hands on me. So we started fighting and I walked away. And I go inside and I tell my dad, and he's like, you need to apologize. And I'm like, for fucking what? Defending myself? So it's just like, I was damned if I did and damned if I didn't. And then like, they want to put you in the middle sometimes, like what really happened? And let's talk like levels of siblings, right? You have your oldest sibling who normally takes all the shit. The rules were made because of them. And then the second ones are the rebellious kids because they're the rule breakers. And then by the third and fourth, the rules don't fucking apply anymore because moms are like, you know what? Fuck it. They're good. They'll live.
I
They want
think
to
it
lick
all
the
stems.
floors. They're all right.
I think it all stems back to, they're also, like you said, they're living for the first time. They're figuring things out for the first time. And let's be honest, like our parents, their era, man, there was no such thing as, mental health support, none of that. Everybody was just like, get over it. You're not allowed to cry. Wipe your fucking tears, blah, 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 blah. And I feel like both of my parents were really hard. And so, like, they were just doing what they were taught with us. And I mean, I feel like each generation gets softer and softer as, which is good in some ways. But being a millennial, I think like half of me is soft and half of me is hard. But I think that, our parents, that's another thing that I have to like forgive them for whatever it may be in my childhood is they were just doing what they knew how to do best. You know what I mean? They were trying their best.
And I believe that. But you know what? Also, I think some parents expect certain things because they're trying to protect their image. And the best way to protect their image is through their children. So it's like,
Right. Yeah.
we get blessed with some healthy parents. And unfortunately, sometimes we get carded some not so good ones.
Right.
And it's up to you. Once you become an adult, it's up to you to figure out what kind of parent and adult you want to be.
100%.
Fix your trauma for your kids.
Fix it. Go to therapy so they don't have to go to
Really
therapy.
not that bad, guys.
It's really not.
I think
It's
people
really
are
not.
afraid to feel. And sometimes we just got to sit in it. Like, there's nothing to be afraid of, I promise.
Right. I feel like this was a good episode. We got out a lot of trauma, I feel like. Maybe I will be more healed now. Let's pray.
Do you meditate?
No, I think my meditation tactic is putting on headphones, listening to what I call sad girl music, and folding laundry. That's the only way I meditate.
Maybe practice it like even in the shower or something for like 30 seconds because most people, when they think meditation, they're like, my mind has to be clear and I got to keep it blank and all these things. That's really not what you're supposed to do. You're just practicing bringing yourself back to the present, right? So if you go in and you can even say, I want to meditate on my career, but then you start to think about your animals and your family, it's just being like, that's not what I'm supposed to be focused on. I need to come back. Meditation also helps with increased gray matter, and gray matter is important because it helps our emotional regulation, it helps our decision making, it helps our memory. And so that's why like brain puzzles and things like that's important. So, I mean, if you have time, I suggest practicing that a little bit every day.
I used to have an app actually. I might re-download it because that actually sounds like a good idea.
And your morning hot girl walks.
Me and Aaron are going to the gym tomorrow morning. We are going to.
Crystal got up with me about the gym too, but I need to get my ass there.
I need to go. I need to go back. I haven't been in like a month. It's very important I go. Okay.
But I think that's a wrap on motherhood. It's time to
That's
get home to our children.
Yes, for sure. And let us know in the comments or DM us how you feel, questions, concerns, and how did your motherhood experience go? Was it anything like ours? Hopefully not. Hopefully not. But all right. Well, I guess
Till next
good night.
time.
Till next time. Bye.
Bye.